Bullies pull the quiet girl's hair. What happened next shocked everyone. Anna sat quietly in the corner of the art room, her canvas a burst of colours that seemed to pulse with life. She was shy, often lost in her world of paints and brushes, where the strokes of her brush told stories she couldn't. But today was different. A dark cloud hovered, and it was not just a passing storm. It was Laura and her band of followers, always lurking, always looking for a target. Today, it was Anna. "Look at this freak," Laura sneered, the queen bee of their little hive of bullies. With a sharp jerk, she yanked at Anna's long dark hair. Shockwaves rippled through the room, students freezing mid-laugh, eyes wide. It felt like time stopped. Anna's heart raced, anger surged through her, hot, blinding, and completely unexpected. For years, she'd let their words wash over her. But this felt different. As the quiet girl turned, the world around her transformed. Her hands clenched into fists, and before she even realized it, she was standing, her body trembling with uncontainable energy. "You think you're better than me?" she shouted, her voice a surprising thunder in the hushed room. Gasps erupted, eyes darting to take in this sudden change. Her heart raced as she poured out the words, raw and fierce, like paint splattering against an empty canvas. "Bullying is not just a joke. It hurts. Do you even know what it feels like to be scared every day?" Her emotions ripped through her, hitting every student's heart like a swift brushstroke. Silence wrapped around them all, even Laura, who stood there, stunned. The words fell fast now, igniting something deep within her, and she realized this was her moment. Her power was unleashed. The shift in the room was palpable. Anna could see shock on the faces of her classmates, some whispering, others looking guilty. Laura's confident demeanor faltered, the weight of her actions beginning to press down on her. She glanced around as if searching for an escape, but found only the wide, questioning eyes of her peers. Then came the whispers. "Did you see that? Who knew she had it in her? Maybe we shouldn't have." In that moment, Anna felt the need for connection blossoming like wildflowers. Eyes that once averted gazes now sought her out, and she felt a flicker of hope amongst her pain. But what held Anna's heart wasn't just the thrill of her newfound voice. It was also the flicker of fear in Laura's eyes. In her bullying, Laura now seemed like a girl trying to hide her own fear and insecurities. Anna saw the cracks in the facade, and for a moment, they were both just girls, one wielding a brush, the other wielding scorn, both battling unseen demons. The moment was electric, but the tension thickened the air between them and in the room. Would they confront their fears together, or would the pressures of their worlds keep them apart? The question hung there, heavy and unresolved, leaving everyone waiting for what came next. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just do a quick check on that red button down below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, smash that like button. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person in this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room was buzzing with tension. As Anna's voice hung in the air, everyone was waiting, caught in the electricity of the moment. Then, out of nowhere, a loud crash echoed through the art room. A heavy metal door slammed open. rattling on its hinges. All eyes snapped to the entrance. Standing there was Mr. Thompson, the art teacher, his face pale and his eyes wide. "Everyone out, now!" His tone was sharp, fierce, cutting through the stunned silence like a knife. Panic surged in the classroom. Students exchanged confused glances, but there was no time for questions. They scrambled toward the exit as Mr. Thompson ushered them out, urgency lining his features. Heart racing, Anna looked back at Laura, her emotions swirling. Fear, anger, something else. But the moment was shattered by the chaos unfolding outside. As they shuffled into the hallway, the distant sound of sirens grew louder, amplifying the dread creeping into everyone's hearts. Anna turned to find Laura still in the room, her face pale. But before Anna could think, Mr. Thompson barked, "Hurry! It's not safe!" They bolted outside into the grey afternoon light. The air felt heavy, thick with panic and uncertainty. Anna could feel adrenaline coursing through her veins. What was happening? Why were the sirens blaring? Was it just a drill? No, this felt too serious. Once outside, they congregated in the schoolyard, half of them breathless and half of them whispering anxiously. Teacher after teacher gathered students, scanning faces, ensuring everyone was present. Anna felt the knot in her stomach tighten. Something terrible was happening. Then one of the teachers, the biology teacher, Mrs. Harris, approached with an unusual sadness in her eyes. There was a shift in the air, something heavy hanging in the space between them. "Listen, everyone, we have a situation," she began, her voice trembling. Anna's heart sank. She saw whispers spreading like wildfire. "What situation?" someone shouted in fear. The crowd surged closer, wanting answers. Thompson stepped forward again, visibly shaken. "It's not just a drill. There's been an incident at the school." "What kind of incident?" Laura finally spoke, her bravado slipping. The whispers turned into a murmur, intensifying as they leaned closer. Fear growing. But then, just as much as the sky held a storm, a figure appeared at the edge of the crowd. It was Greg, a student everyone knew. But he wasn't just any student. He held the reputation of the school's top athlete, always confident, always shining. But now, he looked different, haunted. I saw it," he stammered, his voice cracking. They found something in the art room." Shockwaves rippled through the crowd. "What do you mean?" someone called out. But the fear in Greg's eyes was enough to silence everyone. "A dead body," he whispered, horrified. Gasps erupted. Anna's heart pounded in her chest. A wave of disbelief rolled over her. Her mind raced. A dead body? In their school? She glanced back towards the art room, where just moments ago, Laura had been standing. Conflict bubbled inside her. The moment of her courage, her stand against Laura, felt distant now. Was the world they knew really crumbling open like this? And what about Laura? Was she really so different from Anna? Or were they both standing on shaky ground there, staring into the abyss of something far darker? The crowd buzzed with confusion and fear. Who was the body? What did it mean? The questions rose like poisonous smoke. Anna's heart dropped as she searched for answers, feeling the tremor in her hands. In one sharp moment, everything had shifted, and she knew none of them would ever be the same again. The crowd's murmurs morphed into a restless buzz, a chaotic mixture of adrenaline and fear. Anna's heart raced in her chest as she tried to digest Greg's words. A dead body? How could that even be real? She felt the tension weave through the students around her. Hands covering mouths, eyes wide. The air hummed with dread. "What do you mean, a dead body?" someone whispered, their voice trembling, as if fear itself had taken hold. Greg took a deep breath, and the silence thickened. In the art room. They found someone. I heard them say it was one of the teachers. Anna's breath caught. The chill in her spine ran deeper as she turned back toward the now empty hall, where moments ago the walls had echoed with laughter. Her hands shook, and she remembered the heated moment with Laura, the courage that had fueled her voice. Now it felt like an illusion, misplaced in the wake of what loomed over them all. But which teacher? Laura's voice sliced through the tension, the bravado faltering. It can't be. Not Mr. Thompson. He wouldn't. The weight of their confusion hung over them all. Just moments ago, they were grappling with bullying, and now it was as if the world had cracked open. Anna's thoughts whirled, trying to piece it together. It felt bigger than any of them. Suddenly, the crowd shifted as a police car screamed into the school lot. Blue and red lights flashed, casting eerie shadows over the terrified faces of students. A familiar figure emerged from the vehicle. It was Officer Matthews, the school liaison. He marched toward them, urgency in every step. "Everyone, stay calm!" His voice boomed, cutting through the noise. "We need you to evacuate the area. Follow your teacher's instructions and move toward the football field." Anna felt the pull of instinct, the urge to run, but her feet wouldn't obey. The dread held her firmly in place. Memories flashing through her mind. Laughter, shared moments, whispers behind closed doors. The connections that laced them together, all now seemed fragile. Then, amid the chaos, another voice broke through the fear. "Anna, come here!" It was Mr. Thompson, his face paler than usual. He beckoned her, fear twisted in his eyes. Anna rushed over, panic bubbling up inside her. How could this be happening? "Mr. Thompson, what's going on?" she asked, desperation creeping into her. His gaze swept the crowd, then settled back on her. "You need to leave. Everyone needs to go. It's—" He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder, then whispered urgently, "It's about Laura." "What do you mean?" Anna's heart dropped. "What about her?" A sinking feeling filled her gut as she watched Laura scurrying away from the crowd, her face harrowed and anxious. But before Mr. Thompson could answer, a shout rang out. "She was in the art room!" a girl cried, pointing, at the same time as the body. Shockwaves ricocheted through the crowd. Then the whispers morphed into gasps, eyes darting between Laura and those ominous words. "What? How could she?" Tension rippled through Anna, mixing confusion and betrayal. Laura had been the bully, the target of her anger. But this? Could she be involved in something so dark? A hidden life behind that mask, perhaps? "Get everyone out!" Mr. Thompson shouted again, his voice a harsh command. "Now!" Just then a loud crash echoed behind them. They turned to see police officers rushing into the building, their expressions grim. No one moved, and in that moment, Anna realized that not just fear filled their breaths. It was something darker, something bigger than them all. This was no ordinary incident. The facade of their simple school life had shattered, leaving jagged edges of fear and uncertainty behind. As the officers hurried in, Anna glanced back at Laura, still running toward the back of the crowd. But now she was not just another girl. She was a part of this chaos, a keeper of secrets, her world entangled with darkness. Could it be possible that everyone she thought she knew was spinning into something unrecognizable? The questions clawed at her as the crowd shifted once more, an undercurrent of something menacing that no one yet understood. And then, just as Anna thought she had a grip on her emotions, a scream erupted from the entrance inside the school. It was deafening, full of pure, unfiltered terror. What had she stepped into? What truth lay hidden in the shadows? The weight of uncertainty pressed down hard, leaving them all powerless as the future hung in the balance, completely unknown. The scream echoed again, piercing through the confusion in the crowded schoolyard. It shattered the fragile air, sending chills down Anna's spine. She turned toward the school, eyes wide, heart racing. Had they really just heard that? What had happened? A body in our school? What the hell? Greg's voice wavered, his face ghostly pale. No one moved. Time hung heavy. Just a moment ago they were gripped by fear about Laura, about the chaos around them. But now, a new dread clawed its way to the surface. "Stay back!" Officer Matthews shouted, pushing through the panicked crowd. He didn't look like the approachable school officer anymore. He radiated urgency and authority. "We need to protect you all. It's not safe." Anna's breath quickened, her senses sharpening. She caught the eyes of her classmates. Confusion, fear, and uncertainty danced across their faces like shadows. "What do you mean it's not safe?" she shouted against the rising tide of chaos. But just as Officer Matthews opened his mouth to explain, another scream erupted from the school. It was different this time. Primal, raw, soaked with despair. The sound rattled through everyone, freezing them in place once again. "Get everyone back," Matthews yelled. "Now!" But it was too late. A figure burst through the school doors. Disheveled hair, wild eyes. It was Laura. She stood there, chest heaving, sweat glistening on her brow. And in her shaking hands, she held a bloody knife. Gasps flooded the air, rippling among the crowd like shockwaves. What did you do?" Someone gasped, backing away as though her presence alone could poison the ground. "Laura!" Anna shouted, her voice trembling. "What happened? Are you okay?" But the fear within her twisted her stomach. Laura's eyes darted around, filled with panic. I didn't mean to. I found her." Her voice cracked, sobs bubbling harshly. Oh God. "Stop! Put the knife down." Officer Matthews stepped forward, hands raised. But his commanding voice only filled the air with more dread. "Wait!" Anna felt like she was losing her grip. Everything spiraling out of control. "You found who? What do you mean?" Laura's shoulders shook with fear and guilt. "I thought it was a joke. I thought she was just playing, but she was..." "Who? Who was it?" Anna pressed, stepping closer, desperate. Could grasp this chaotic unraveling. "Miss Carter, the drama teacher. She was lying there. I didn't mean to. I didn't know what to do." Laura's body trembled as tears fell freely down her cheeks. Silence blanketed the crowd. Miss Carter was beloved, always cheerful, full of life. "Everyone, back now," Officer Matthews shouted again, forcing the students away from the chaos. Anna's heart shattered at the sight of Laura, once a source of torment, and now broken. A hurting girl holding on to a reality that felt impossible. "You have to tell the truth. We need to help her." But another scream cut through the air, a voice that sounded alarmingly familiar. It was Mr. Thompson, rushing toward them, his face a mask of Horror. He grabbed Laura's shoulder, his eyes wide. "What were you doing in there?" "I didn't mean to, I found her." What was happening? The relationships they built, the fears they battled, all tilted on the edge of a knife. Anna's hands shook, heart thudding painfully as the realization dawned on her. The moment of courage she'd felt earlier, the anger at Laura, had it all been misplaced? Had they all been part of something darker than the bullying, something they didn't understand? "Why were you in the art room, Laura?" Mr. Thompson pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. "What did you see?" But just then, the screaming stopped. A heavy silence descended over them. All eyes turned to where Ms. Carter had been found. The horror settling over the crowd like thick fog. Anna's stomach sank. Everything was shifting, twisting into a new reality. The body, the knife, Laura's terrified eyes. It all fueled the chaos of unanswered questions. Did you do it?" Anna gasped, her voice barely a whisper. And every eye turned to Laura, the shadows of suspicion looming. And there, in that dense tension, nothing would ever be the same again. The truth lay hidden in the chaos, but it felt like the truth could tear them apart. Anna's breath was caught in her throat, the chaos swirling around her as memories of laughter faded like distant echoes. The weight of Laura's trembling hands, gripped tightly around the bloody knife, felt heavy in the air. "Laura!" Mr. Thompson shouted again, eyes wide as he grasped the enormity of the situation. "What happened? Tell me everything." "I found Miss Carter," Laura shouted, her voice breaking like fragile glass. "I didn't mean to. I swear. I went to the art room to tell her something, and she was there, lying so still." Her words spilled out, frantic and broken. And then, just when it felt like things couldn't get worse, a thunderous crash sounded from behind them. All heads turned towards the sound, hearts racing, eyes wide with confusion. The front doors of the school burst open again, and in strode two tall figures, their faces obscured by masks. "FBI, everyone on the ground," one of them yelled, voice sharp and demanding. Panic shot through the crowd as students stumbled back, scrambling to comply with the sudden demand. What was happening? Anna's heart thundered in her chest. She could hardly draw breath. "What is this?" she gasped, only to find her voice lost in the chaos. "Identify yourselves," the second agent commanded, already moving toward the entrance. Their swift, practiced movements mirrored the urgency of the crowd's fear. Anna's eyes darted back to Laura, who stood frozen, knife still in hand. Terror etched on her face. "Wait," Anna shouted, moving toward Laura. "You don't have to." But the agents were closing in fast. Laura dropped the knife, a clatter against the floor echoing the dread in the room. Trembling, she stepped back, eyes wide with horror, glancing between Anna and the officers. "I didn't do it, I swear." But the agents didn't listen. "Put your hands up," one of them barked, moving to restrain Laura. "Step away from the weapon." And then, as if the universe had some darker plan at play, one of the agents pulled out a photo from his pocket, holding it up for everyone to see. The crowd parted, gasping in disbelief. It was a picture of Ms. Carter, but it was more than that. The agent turned to face the crowd, lips thin with grim determination. "This is a clear case of foul play." "Foul play?" Anna echoed, confusion blending with dread as the implications of his words crashed over her like cold water. "What do you mean?" "The body we found in the art room was not an accident. Miss Carter was mixed up in something much bigger. She had been under investigation for a series of incidents related to illegal activities happening right in this school, he announced, words slicing through the air. The room fell silent, the reality shocking everyone to their core. "What?" came a whisper from the crowd. "Illegal activities? Here?" "Yes," the agent continued, voice steady. "Carter was involved with a smuggling ring, using students to transport materials. We expect more bodies may be uncovered in this operation." Unable to comprehend, Anna felt herself sway. But how? The questions spun in her mind. The bullying, the chaos. Was it all somehow woven into this dark thread? Miss Carter was not who you. "Thought she was," the agent replied, glancing at Laura. "And it appears you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, Miss Laura." Laura's lips parted in shock. "But I thought she was my friend." The betrayal hung thick in the air, a heavy fog smothering past grievances. Anna's heart raced as she watched Laura crumble under the weight of the truth. Suddenly, screams erupted again, this time from the far end of the parking lot. Anna turned to see a group of students running, faces twisted in terror. Someone shouted, "They're coming!" The name Carter lingered in Anna's mind like a curse. Her body felt as if it had been pulled into a whirlpool of secrets and lies. Everything she thought she knew, every moment of boyhood and bravado, now felt like sand slipping through her fingers. "Run!" the second agent shouted as students began to flee in every direction. But Anna stood rooted in place, feeling the ground shift beneath her. And as more screams filled the air, a realization hit her. There was a darkness that ran deeper than she could ever have imagined, one that could tear their already fragile lives apart. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, lay answers she still needed to find. "Why did you really go to the art room, Laura?" Anna whispered, unsure what else lay ahead. Everything had changed. The line between friend and enemy had blurred, and the truth was starting to look more dangerous than the lies. Anna's breath was caught in her throat, the chaos swirling around her as memories of laughter faded like distant echoes. The weight of Laura's trembling hands, gripped tightly around the bloody knife, felt heavy in the air. "Laura!" Mr. Thompson shouted again, eyes wide as he grasped the enormity of the situation. "What happened? Tell me everything." "I found Ms. Carter," Laura shouted, her voice breaking like fragile glass. "I didn't mean to, I swear! I went to the art room to tell her something, and she was there, lying so still." Her words spilled out, frantic and broken, and then, just when it felt like things couldn't get worse, a thunderous crash sounded from behind them. All heads turned towards the sound, hearts racing, eyes wide with confusion. The front doors of the school burst open again, and in strode two tall figures, their faces obscured by masks. "FBI, everyone on the ground," one of them yelled, voice sharp and demanding. Panic shot through the crowd as students stumbled back, scrambling to comply with the sudden demand. What was happening? Anna's heart thundered in her chest. She could hardly draw breath. "What is this?" she gasped, only to find her voice lost in the chaos. "Identify yourselves," the second agent commanded, already moving toward the entrance. Their swift, practiced movements, moving toward Laura. "You don't have to." But the agents were closing in fast. Laura dropped the knife, a clatter against the floor, echoing the dread in the room. Trembling, she stepped back, eyes wide with horror. glancing between Anna and the officers. "I didn't do it, I swear!" And the agents didn't listen. "Put your hands up!" one of them barked, moving to restrain Laura. "Step away from the weapon." Then, as if the universe had some darker plan at play, one of the agents pulled out a photo from his pocket, holding it up for everyone to see. The crowd parted, gasping in disbelief. It was a picture of Miss Carter, but it was more than that. The agent turned to face the crowd, lips thin with grim determination. "This is a clear case of foul play." "Foul play?" Anna echoed, confusion blending with dread as the implications of his words crashed over her like cold water. "What do you mean?" "The body we found in the art room was not an accident. Ms. Carter was mixed up in something much bigger. She had been under investigation for a series of incidents related to illegal activities happening right in this school," he announced, words slicing through the air. The room fell silent, the reality shocking everyone to their core. "What?" came a whisper from the crowd. "Illegal activities? Here?" "Yes," the agent continued, voice steady. "Ms. Carter was involved with a smuggling ring using students to transport materials. We expect more bodies may be uncovered in this operation." Unable to comprehend, Anna felt herself sway. But how? The question spun in her mind. The bullying, the chaos, was it all somehow woven into this dark thread? Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, a low rumble vibrating through the air. Panic spread like wildfire. "What's happening?" someone shouted, eyes wide as the world shifted. "Everyone, to the back of the lot," Officer Matthews yelled, his tone serious. "Now!" But it was too late. A loud explosion rocked the school. Windows shattered, and a flash of heat slammed into them. The chaos erupted into screams, the crowd scattering like leaves in a storm. The front of the school was engulfed in flames. Fire licked up the walls, flames dancing like maniacs. Anna stumbled backward, heart racing, the smoke burning her lungs. Was this connected to everything else? "Laura!" She whipped back around, but the girl was gone. Panic surged. Had she been caught in the chaos? Among the flames, figures emerged, shadowy, indistinct forms. "Get back!" an officer urged as he pulled students away from the inferno. But Anna's gaze locked on a familiar figure moving closer to the fire. The figure of Miss Carter. Alive? No, it couldn't be. The image from the photo, the body, the truth crashed over her like a wave. "Everyone out!" Officer Matthews shouted, urgency in his voice rising above the chaos. And through the haze of smoke and dread, Anna's heart raced as she felt everything inside. A twist! Laura's shout echoed in her mind. "I didn't do it!" The reality plunged deep. A tangled nest of secrets, misunderstandings, and betrayals erupting into chaos. Then came another explosion, and a piercing scream broke through the confusion. Anna turned just in time to see the fiery silhouette of someone stumbling back. "Miss Carter!" As if everything fell silent, Anna felt a cold breath of realization wash over her. If Miss Carter wasn't dead, who had taken her place? In that moment, it all began to shift. Relationships crumbled, trust shattered, and the world she thought she knew slipped away into the shadows of fiery smoke. Everything felt frayed at the edges, and she realized everything she thought was real was about to turn upside down. And as the flames danced, laughter turned to screams. A hidden truth lay just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. The scream rang out again, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Anna's heart raced, each tick of her pulse echoing in her ears. She felt time slow down. The fire danced behind her, casting eerie shadows on the wide eyes of her classmates, their faces reflecting terror. Was Miss Carter really alive? But then, another figure stumbled out, drenched in ash and smoke. "Get away!" The girl's face was barely recognizable, smeared with soot. It was Heather, a classmate, but this time she wasn't the same. Her eyes were wild with fear as she collapsed to her knees. They're coming!" she gasped, struggling for breath. Fear rippled through the crowd like a tidal wave. "We saw them! They were in the back!" "Who?" Anna called out, confusion bubbling into panic. The agents were still shouting orders, trying to secure the scene, but no one was listening anymore. Suddenly, horrible realization swept over Anna. The chaos was no coincidence. Each second felt heavy, as if the air had thickened with dread. "What do you mean?" she pressed, trying to comprehend Heather's words. "Who's coming?" Heather looked up, her face pale and wide-eyed. "Those involved with Miss Carter. The others. They're mad. They want revenge." Before Anna could digest Heather's words, a sharp crack sounded from the left side of the school, a hollow thud like thunder. The crowd froze. Another figure emerged from the depths of the smoke. This time, it was a boy. Someone Anna recognized, Kyle, a senior. But he wasn't alone. He had something clutched in his hand. "It's not over! You don't understand!" Kyle shouted, chest heaving. "They didn't just kill her. They were using her. She was part of it all." The whispers turned to gasps, eyes darting back and forth. "What are you talking about?" someone yelled. Kyle's eyes glinted with terror, fear taking over. "The teachers, Miss Carter, hooked us into something dark. They were trafficking students." The words crashed over Anna like icy water. Trafficking? How could this be? But the panic was palpable. Each student was pulling away, grabbing their phones, desperate to escape this nightmare. The agents were too busy trying to control the chaos, unaware of the new wave of dread creeping in. "Is this real?" Laura whispered, her voice trembling. "What do you mean?" Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed from the back of the school. Emerging from the smoke were figures in dark clothes, more than just students. Men and women, faces masked, eyes glinting with something wicked. They moved like shadows, fluid yet menacing, their intentions shrouded in fear. "Get them!" one of them shouted, and a surge of instinct took over. Everyone ran, scrambling for safety, fleeing the horror. Anna felt icy fingers closing around her heart. "We have to run," she shouted, grabbing Laura's arm, pulling her along. But Laura hesitated, frozen in shock. "Wait, what if they're here for me?" she stammered, looking back, panic etched into her features. Anna's grip tightened. "We have to stick together." But doubt slithered in, intertwining with the fear already spiraling in her gut. Layers peeled away. Was Laura herself in on this? Was everyone guilty? "Get out now!" Officer Matthews' voice rang, but he was losing ground. As the armed figures advanced, the truth rumbled beneath it all. Anna glanced back, and the last thing she saw before she turned a corner was Kyle, face grim, clutching something in his hand. A bloody shard of paper filled with numbers, phone numbers, revealing something deeper, a web of lies. And then a burst of fire shot up, illuminating the chaos around them, revealing faces of fear, but also a hint of something else complicity. As the flames flickered, Anna understood in that split second. The connections ran deeper than anyone imagined. She stumbled, the dark undercurrents pulling her down, as suspicion began to coat everything. The school was not just a building anymore. It was a labyrinth of hidden truths. Where did it all lead? The questions spiraled as she and the others ran, the darkness chasing them, leaving her to wonder who might really be friends and who might be enemies. Everything had shifted. Nothing would be the same again. Was anyone? The noise was overwhelming. "Come on! We've got to keep moving!" she yelled, pulling Laura along as fear coursed through her veins. They darted left, trying to outrun the shadows creeping nearer, the ominous figures approaching too quickly. But then another scream erupted from the hallway, higher and more desperate than before. "Help! Let me go!" Anna's stomach twisted. She turned to see Kyle struggling against two masked figures, dragging him backward towards the flames. "Help me!" he yelled, eyes wide with terror. "Get away from him!" Without thinking, Anna broke free from Laura's grip and raced toward them. "Let him go!" she shouted, terror and adrenaline fueling her legs. "Stop!" one of the figures yelled, voice muffled by the mask. "This is none of your business." But it was too late. Anna lunged forward, pushing against one of the figures. The man stumbled back, and Kyle broke free, scrambling toward Anna. "Thank you," he gasped, visibly shaken. But as he turned to run, the masked figure grabbed him again, yanking him backward. "Don't you see?" the figure hissed, eyes narrowing with rage. "You're all part of this." In that moment, something shifted. The mask slipped just enough for Anna to catch a glimpse of the person beneath. It was Bobby, a quiet kid from chemistry class, one she never thought capable of such violence. Her heart plummeted. "Bobby? Why?" But before he could answer, the second figure revealed himself to be none other than Mr. Thompson, his face twisted with anger. "You think you can just run away from this? You're in deeper than you know." Anna's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" she cried, backing away, a knot of confusion spinning in her gut. This couldn't be happening. "We're not just teachers," Mr. Thompson snarled, his voice low. "You all have to understand. The school has been using you as pawns in a dangerous game." "Dangerous? What are you talking about?" Kyle shouted, fear lacing his voice. "Everything you believe, it's all an illusion," Bobby chimed in, eyes wild. "This isn't just about Ms. Carter. The shipments, they were part of a larger operation to gather resources for something big." "Stop!" Anna yelled, clenching her fists. "All of you need to back off. You're scaring us. We just want to survive this." But Mr. Thompson stepped closer, relentless. "And what makes you think you're not part of it? Each of you, you're all connected whether you know it or not." Anna felt the breath pitching in her throat. The realization hit her like a punch. All the rumors, the whispers, they weren't just stories anymore. Something was twisted, and they had all been pawns in a game they didn't even know existed. "It's true," Bobby added, nodding vigorously. "They'll come for you. You have to understand. There's no escape." Just then, another explosion rocked the building, the noise deafening. The earth shook beneath them, and the walls began to crumble. Debris fell, scattering everyone. "Run! Get out!" Anna shouted, feeling panic swell even more. In the middle of the chaos, Laura's voice broke through. "But who are we, really?" And Anna's heart sank. What had started as a simple day in school was spiraling into a nightmare of betrayals and hidden truths. The realization that everything was connected made her heart race. But it was the fear of what would come next that truly gripped her. "Trust no one," Kyle shouted, and it reverberated through Anna's mind. Everything had changed. As they ran, the smoky air thickened. The shadows lurking behind them seemed to close in on every side. "Where do we go?" Laura's voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Anna felt trapped, caught between uncertainty and chaos. "I don't know," she yelled back, heart pounding. The truth lay heavy on her, hidden beneath layers of fear. Nothing would ever be the same. And yet the biggest question remained, echoing in her mind. Who could they trust when the very people meant to protect them were now enemies? Then, just as they burst through the door and into the blinding light of day, the crowd gathered outside shifted as someone called Anna's name. "Anna, over here!" She turned, breath caught in her chest. There stood a figure, a man in a long coat, face shrouded in shadows. But when he stepped forward, she knew him immediately. "Dad?" she gasped, disbelief flooding through her veins, questions racing in her mind. "What are you doing here?" The truth lay on the tip of her tongue. But this time, she wasn't sure if it would set her free or lead to something even darker. And as the flames roared behind them, the final pieces of the puzzle began to slip away, leaving nothing but uncertainty in its place. "Dad?" Anna gasped, disbelief flooding through her veins. A world around her had spiraled out of control, bursting into flames. And yet here he was, standing right in front of her. "What are you doing here?" The chaos of the day clawed at her mind, and she felt like she was going to crumble under the weight of it all. "Anna, we need to go. Now," he said, his voice urgent and low. Fear flickered in his eyes, but there was also something else, something she couldn't quite place. The panic was contagious, pulsing through the crowd of students around them. The flames roared and crackled behind her, and the memories of laughter twisted painfully in her mind. "What's going on? What's happening?" she demanded, trying to find clarity amidst the chaos. "Not here. Follow me," he said, taking her hand and pulling her away from the fire. Laura followed closely, her frightened eyes darting between them. They darted across the schoolyard, past the scattered students who were either fleeing or huddled together in shocked disbelief. Anna turned her head back to see Kyle and the others being led away by officers, hands raised in surrender. Fear knotted in her stomach just as they reached the far edge of the yard. A loud crash echoed behind them, as if the world was collapsing in on itself. Anna froze. She whipped around. The sight before her sent cold dread coursing through her veins. Before them stood a large black van, its engines roaring like a beast. The side door swung open, and out stepped a figure Anna recognized instantly. It was Detective Harris, but he wasn't alone. Next to him, face shrouded in shadows, was a woman Anna had only seen in photos. The woman who had been leading the student trafficking ring, Ms. Carter. "Get in, now," Detective Harris barked, his eyes frantic. Anna's heart dropped as she stepped forward instinctively. "But she's dead." Her voice wavered, questioning every truth she thought. She knew. "Miss Carter was never dead." Harris snapped back, panic evident. "We've been watching her. You were all unwitting players in a dangerous game." Anna's mind raced. "But why didn't you stop it? We could have been—" "Not now. Get in," he urged again, panic bubbling in his tone. Laura's eyes widened. "You didn't save us," she shouted. "You let us get hurt." But before Harris could respond, Ms. Carter stepped forward, her face split by a wicked grin. "You're quite the brave little students, aren't you?" she taunted. her voice smooth like silk, but the malice dripped from her words. "But you've made a mistake. I can't let you leave." The air froze. "Anna, run!" her dad yelled, pushing her toward the van. But as she turned to flee, something caught her attention out of the corner of her eye. A figure peeling away from the crowd to the side. It was Kyle again. His wild eyes locked onto her. "It's a trap! You don't know the truth!" he cried, desperation mingling with fear. Anna hesitated. She felt the weight of loyalty to her friends crashing against the urgency of escaping this nightmare. "What truth?" she yelled back over her shoulder, panic tightening her chest. "They're lying! They made us part of this. You can't trust them." Suddenly, the hissing of smoke filled the air. A surge of adrenaline shifted through Anna, and in an instant, everything snapped into chaos. The van roared to life, but not before a sound exploded behind her. A gunfire. She wheeled around to see Detective Harris, caught in the crossfire of masked figures sprinting through the smoke. Every instinct in her screamed to run, but Anna felt frozen, questioning what she'd just seen. It was all too much. The figures moved through the haze, confronting Harris. Anna's heart raced as realization dawned on her. The world fractured around her, and everything she thought was true unraveled like a thread pulled from fabric. Allies, enemies, she didn't know who to believe anymore. "Get in, Anna," her dad shouted again. But as she turned toward him, horror gripped her. He had stepped back, placing himself between her and the chaos. "Go," he urged one final time. Screams erupted, the sound echoing like a chilling soundtrack to the unfolding scene. Anna felt the ground sway beneath her, the flames casting long shadows, concealing secrets she'd never understood. "Anna!" Laura cried, moving toward her. But Anna felt anchored. The trap was closing in. She had to decide. Stay with her father, stand her ground, or take another path that could expose them to even more danger. One that she might not survive. "Which way will you choose?" came Miss Carter's voice, serpentine and soft, cutting through the chaos. Understanding flickered in Anna's mind, like the flames behind her, fierce but unpredictable. And then everything exploded into chaos, both from the shots ringing in the air and the sudden, shocking truth of what lay beneath the surface. It all unraveled in front of her eyes. The choice flickered momentarily, but the gravity of the world weighed heavy, leaving her breathless and uncertain. Anna's heart pounded as she watched her father stand defiantly between the chaos and her. The air was thick with smoke and fear, the flames dynamically crackling behind them, threatening to engulf everything. "Dad, please," she yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. "We can't let them win." "Get in the van," he shouted back, his voice laced with urgency. The masked figures were getting closer. The dread gnawed at Anna, and she could feel Laura's trembling beside her, caught in the whirlwind of emotions. "Anna, listen!" Laura's voice broke through the panic. "We can't trust anyone, not even your dad." The words hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Anna turned, searching her father's eyes for reassurance, but she only saw a storm of conflict. "Don't listen to her," came Detective Harris's voice, firm and commanding. He narrowed his eyes at the advancing figures. "We don't have time for this. Miss Carter isn't who she says she is. She'll do anything to keep you quiet." The truth jolted through Anna like a bolt of electricity. "What are we even fighting for?" she shouted, shaking with emotion. "I thought we were just students. Now we're part of something much bigger?" Her father's gaze softened. "Anna, trust me. Save Kyle, he's still in there. But the screaming figures loomed, shadows darting behind the chaotic scenes. "There's no time," her dad insisted. He lunged forward, pulling her towards the van. From the corner of her eye, she saw Kyle fighting off the masked figures, but they were too many. "Kyle!" she screamed, feeling an overwhelming pull to help him. Then, an explosion. The ground shook violently, and Anna barely kept her feet. A cloud of smoke surged up around her, shrouding everything in darkness. "Now!" her father yelled, shoving her again. Without thinking, she grabbed Laura, and together they sprinted toward the van. The panting breaths of their classmates echoed behind them. "Go, go, go!" Detective Harris shouted as they reached the vehicle. Anna turned back. The shadows were getting closer to Kyle, his face helpless against the maze of figures. Fear gnawed at her. "We can't leave him! He's exposed. We have to move!" her father replied, urgency in his voice. "You can't get caught in this mess!" Tears streamed down Anna's cheeks as she felt her heart fracture into two. But she knew now wasn't the time for hesitation. "Get in!" Laura urged, pulling Anna toward the open door of the van. They tumbled inside, and her heart ached for Kyle. He was still out there, still fighting. Suddenly, the van lurched, and the tires screeched against the pavement like a wounded animal. "What about the truth?" Anna yelled. "What happens now?" Detective Harris turned to her, his face serious. "We go now. We regroup later. There are safe locations to uncover the truth. This isn't over. We'll bring it all to light." The van sped away, leaving the smoke and chaos behind. The world was spinning, emotions a blur. Relief washed over her, even as fear bubbled inside. But in that moment, amidst the sharp beeping of police radios and distant sirens, something shifted within her. They were fighting for something bigger than just surviving. As they drove away, Anna felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. They could expose the truth. They could bring the darkness into the light. But the knowledge loomed, a shadow pulsing at the back of her mind. What awaited them when they finally pieced it all together? And as the distance between her and the flames grew, Anna swore she could still hear the echoes of chaos whispering through the air, leaving a mystery just before her, waiting to unravel. If you're still with me, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel, so you don't miss any exclusive upcoming stories. This is the moment to show your support. Flick that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait another second to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through your actions. Let's keep this incredible journey going together.